They might see.
We're live.
We are live.
Look at that. It's happening. Well, hi everyone, and welcome to the Adelaide Chamber Singers live stream. Before we begin, I would like to just acknowledge that we are presenting this live stream on Kaurna country. We recognise and respect the Kaurna people's continuing connection to the country, and we pay our respects to Kaurna elders past and present. My name is Jonathan Bly, and I sing bass with Adelaide Chamber Singers. I'm here with Rachel, who sings alto, and just want to let you know that there's a little chat feature on the YouTube screen there, which you can type in any questions, and Rachel will pass them on, and we can ask our fabulous guests today. So we're here this afternoon with Carl Crossin and Christie Anderson. Carl founded the Adelaide Chamber Singers in 1985, and just this year has passed on the role of Artistic Director and Conductor to Christie. So after this chat, we'll premiere 4 new music videos from the Adelaide Chamber Singers, which we recorded in September last year. So I'll just ask Carl and Christie to come to the hot seat.
Please do.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, John. Thanks, Rachel.
Pleasure. So Carl, could you tell us a little bit about how this video project came about?
This particular project is probably what became known as Plan C. Back in 2020, we had a tour planned for Europe, principally Germany and Belgium. But of course, that was the first year of COVID, so that went well, didn't it? So we had to cancel that tour. We then had another tour planned in 2021, where we were going to visit New Zealand, as well as some Australian cities as well. And that pretty well got to total fruition, but because the Australian-New Zealand bubble didn't quite work out as everyone had planned, again, for COVID reasons, so that tour had to be cancelled as well. We really wanted to do something significant. We had raised a significant amount of money for the tour, and so we repurposed it for this recording project. So it then became a case of choosing music we wanted to record, finding the appropriate venue, and getting stuck into it. And actually, we're really happy with the results. So Plan C ended up being a really good plan.
Cool. So of the repertoire that you chose, how did you come about selecting those repertoire, and then what does it sort of mean for the singers and for you as a director?
Well, I can start off by telling you what I mentioned earlier, must admit, perhaps Christie, as one of the singers on the project, can let everyone know what it means for the singers. But the 4 pieces we chose, Leonardo Dreams of the Flying Machine by Eric Whittaker, Southern Light, which is one of my pieces, The Deer's Cry by Arvo Pärt, and The Parting Glass. They're certainly all favourites, I have to say, with chamber singers, and they're all significant in various ways. Leonardo, frankly, I think it's one of the very best of Eric Whittaker's pieces, and it became quite significant for us because we performed it as part of our Choir of the World performances in Wales. And it went down very well. You were there, John, you remember that?
I remember it well.
It went down very well with the singers, was very popular with audiences, and it became a very significant piece, partly for that reason, but it's just a fabulous piece, and the singers love performing it. My own piece, Southern Light, which is a setting of a fabulous poem called Southern Light by Gabriele Dante Rossetti, was composed in 2014 for Adelaide Chamber Singers, and in fact Christie conducted the premiere performance because it was for a concert that we were doing at the time, one of Christie's programs, that was all about darkness and light. And it probably gave me a chance to sit back and listen to my own creation from a distance. So it became significant, I guess, to me, and I must admit, I have come to enjoy the piece. One normally doesn't say that about one's own compositions, but I did quite enjoy that particular one, and Christie did a fabulous job in the performances. I must admit, I then said, I think I'll take this one back. So we performed it a number of times, and it seemed to be a good one to do for the video. The Deer's Cry by Arvo Pärt. We performed a lot of music by Arvo Pärt over the years. In fact, we've done almost all of his choral works, but the one we hadn't done was The Deer's Cry. So to do something which was the second last project that I did with Chamber Singers, and to do something entirely new seemed like a good thing to do. And that piece grew on all of us. The more we did it, its simplicity, its intimacy just became, there was a real point of connection for everybody as we rehearsed and learned the piece. And the parting glass, it's a piece of farewell. This is an arrangement that I did for Chambers Singers many years ago. And it's a piece of farewell. It seemed an appropriate piece to do for all sorts of reasons. And although when we were doing the video, that phrase, a piece of farewell, it didn't come up. I certainly wasn't going to bring it up. But it seemed really appropriate, actually, to do at the time. And I'm glad we included it. I don't know whether Christie has anything to add to it. I should pass over.
Thank you, Carl. And obviously, Carl puts things so beautifully. What I'd like to talk about actually is how the singers responded to the way these works were put together. We go back to this idea with Adelaide Chamber Singers, which we continue in Carl's semi-absence, we'll call this Carl, which is this idea of heartland repertoire. It's not just what we sing on how we sing it, but it's the composers and the pieces and the textures that we come back to. So something like Leonardo, I agree with Carl, it's one of the best lyrical works. I'm also very partial to A Boy and a Girl, I'm just going to say that as well, but you know, in general, what he does is he writes so very well for all of the parts. So what we want is this sense as singers that it's like an equal sharing of the drama and equal sharing of the motivation behind the piece. So we love that work. And actually you'll see when you see the video that it's a really good opportunity for us to just have a little bit of fluidity within the movement of the video itself. And we should actually say that Curtis Brownjohn was the person who made our videos for us. And Curtis just had these incredibly great ideas, but also because he didn't have he's a visual person, he's not a musician. Mm-hmm. So some of his ideas would never be something that you and I would have considered, but they've been so wonderful. Mm-hmm. And I think that, coming back to a piece by you was really important. For Some Night, it was just, we love it. It's a love song. For those of you who haven't heard the poem, please pick it up. It's a love song and it's got such tenderness and such beauty. And I don't want to be cheesy, but it was sort of like, it's a love song for us. All of us together as well. I'm not going to say this too early, but I'm going to say it anyway. And for us, it's a legacy project. It's our last opportunity to put our hearts and our music into working with you as the artistic director of the ensemble for so many years. So there was a lot of real poignancy that came with that. And the Pärt, incredibly beautiful. Actually, it goes back to the early Pärt that we did, I think, as well. Mm-hmm. So it sits really nicely. We can sort of relax into the space and into the spacious nature of it really, really well. And the parting glass, I'm going to tell a little tale because it's got two job over top. There are lots of configurations, and one of them is that we have to stand facing each other. And the people, we're in the naughty corner, John, me, Brooke, and Matt Rushy, we're in the naughty corner. which was the furthest back. And we got the giggles terribly during some of the takes because we were supposed to look at each other and sing. And we were just giggling away, and that kind of reminded us of sort of the joy of actually being together. So when it looks like we're looking at each other, we're actually looking over the right ear of the person on the other side of the room. So, that sort of to me was part of the joy of just putting that all together, that we could also enjoy the comedy and the love that we actually put into recording and filming this legacy project.
You talked about Curtis Brownjohn's videography, and I love what Curtis has done with this, but also Gaz Agostino did the sound, and he really has captured a lovely warmth. It's there are some similarities with the sound that Neville Clark used to capture with Adelaide Chamber Singers, and it's nice to have that understanding there, both in the sound and in the video as well. That sense of what acts sounds like and what it looks like.
I was just going to say the recordings in the Freemason Hall on North Terrace. I mean, was there a decision about to use that space? Because I've seen the video, spoiler alert, and it looks incredible. That was just a great inspiration.
Yes. Look, we chose that space partly because of its sound. We also chose it because there's something of a Renaissance palazzo about it. We had performed there once before, many years ago. We did a semi-stage performance of L'Antipanazo, which is Orazio Vecchi's metrical comedy. And we had the audience around us. We were sitting at a table. We'd set it up like a quasi-Renaissance feast. And with that black and white tile floor and all those pillars, it just gave us a little bit of a sense that we were in some palazzo in Italy. So there is that sort of connection that it's had positive vibes for us in the past. And I just love the aesthetics, actually. It's slightly overdone, I must admit, but it is very beautiful nevertheless.
And so for those of you who are interested in that is actually on North Terrace, and I think you can actually go into the foyer and have a look for yourselves. And there's also a mezzanine above, so that's where some of the angles are captured. It's a little bit hard to see with everything.
Yeah. Well, we have a question from one of our viewers who goes by the name of Brooke. And it's for you, Carl. So Adelaide Chamber Singers has achieved and experienced so many incredible moments. When you founded Adelaide Chamber Singers, what were your objectives and what surprised you most during your time as artistic director?
Goodness me, how long have we got for this? Look, the initial motivation, I think, was getting together a group of singers who were prepared to explore repertoire that was different to what everyone else was doing at the time. I was certainly looking for musical challenges, not that I hadn't been getting, but I was looking for different challenges at the time. I mean, we're talking 36 years ago. Did I have any concept that at the time as to what it might look like, what it might grow into? Absolutely not. I must admit I was making it up as I was going along. There was an element of organic development about the group that really only helped form a vision over time. And I have been very, very fortunate to have had singers who were prepared to work with me and share that vision and share the dream. And I've always said, and I always believe, that the culture of Adelaide Chamber Singers is that mixture of the chemistry between the singers, the chemistry between the singers and I. It's that totally owned feeling, I guess, and it's something that I would have to say that I would never have been able to achieve without the singers that I have with me. And I think that, you know, when one looks at the success of Adelaide Chamber Singers, it's a team game. It is absolutely a team game.
And I think it's really special because you've done one of these compositions for the recording, and I know that Christie, you do some arrangements as well. So it must be that incredible feeling of being able to create your own music as well and then perform it with the group. So
yes, look, it's an absolute joy to have a captive, a captive ensemble. And yes, composing for the group is very special too, because I know exactly what every phrase, every chord will sound like. And yet, having said that, when it actually comes off the page and into voices, there's a whole new dimension to it. And I must admit, one of the things that I really valued with chamber singers is that however I might conceive of the piece, you may find the same thing too. So, you've done many concerts with the group as well. And I always find, however you conceive of a piece first of all, it takes on a novel life as soon as the singers are involved in it.
It's true.
Yeah.
And just something that I've noticed, sort of as a singer in Adelaide Chamber Singers for a few years now, it's that the rehearsal process is so empowering and so beautiful, and it's just so wholesome. But then there's that whole new dynamic when you're perhaps in a different space and the audience comes into that equation. So how do you, when you think about programming, both of you, how does that do you sort of think about what the audience and the spaces you're working in? Because we just did a concert with Christie, which was in a really unique space. So how does that work for you guys?
Well, I think in general, and I work on the best, but I think in general, it actually is a bit of a mixture of both things. So this in-house that we just did, which was in a really secular environment, the idea was that everyone will experience every single person and it's because it's small ensembles as well as the large one. It didn't matter where you were in your seats as an audience member, you would actually really be involved in it. Whereas something in St. Peter's Cathedral, for example, is an experience of acoustic and place, that the intimacy of the connection is different. I don't actually think that there's not an intimacy of connection. That's all about voice, and people come to hear Adelaide Chamber Singers. But the next program, for example, and I've been running these for a few years, is in partnership with the Art Gallery. And the program that is always actually set around the actual spaces in the gallery, but the programs that they're running. So we're looking at Force of Nature is actually a piece of artwork in the Sala, the South Australian Living Artist. So that's one of the pieces that we're responding to. And the other big exhibition is the Archie 100 at the moment. So it's about characters, places and spaces. So it's, so I think it's a bit of a mix of both things, isn't it?
Yes, it is. This idea of, loving venue, responding to venues, I must admit that Adelaide Chamber Singers is peopled by a bunch of acoustic junkies, people who really love the sound of the space that they're performing in.
What would be your favourite space in Adelaide, do you think, for tricky?
Yeah.
Probably for different reasons, right?
Well, look, I would have to say St. Peter's Cathedral for me, followed by the Adelaide Town Hall, and then followed by St. John's in Halifax Street. Now, St. John's in Halifax Street has a little bit of emotional connection because that's where we used to perform first of all. It's also where Jill and I got married, right? Christie, your favourites?
With all three of those, I absolutely love. I also love the little chapel up at Calvary Hospital in North Adelaide,
yes.
Which is another one of those tiny spaces. But Axe has never really had a chance to do this, but I like some of the really interesting outdoor spaces. So, underneath the bridge at King William Street Bridge, is anyone ever sung? I mean, you look like trolls when you're doing it. This idea about what other spaces create resonance for us. I love the train station as well. But in terms of Axe performances, we're not going to the train station yet. But yeah, I think those three venues, and I actually feel like probably St. John's may be my favourite, even though you know, there is a warmth and there's a really earthy, even though it's a sacred place, there's an earthy connection. If you ever look at St John's in the Fields, what it used to look like,
Yes.
you know, I can always imagine there is no one else in there except for that church. It just sort of exists in its own little time bubble there.
We have another question from one of our viewers. So this is for you, Christie. So appointing an accomplished artistic director from within the Singers is an incredible advantage and proud achievement for Adelaide Chamber Singers. Christie, how do you see your first-hand experience impacting ACT's future?
Oh my goodness, that's an excellent question, thank you. I think that it's an interesting question because I keep coming back to this year. I'm 8 months in, and you know, in so many ways, this ACT family, and so many of us have been together with Carl, but together as singers for years and years and years. I think that there is a real strength in the connection that's already there. But I think also Adelaide Chamber Singers, as we all know, any good cultural organisation has got to keep growing and keep moving forward. So I think we're all on the same page. We're all on the same bus. We're all on the same page in terms of the way things things evolve. And I think that no one in the group, me least of all, is afraid of that evolution. It is keeping the things that make us so special. But it is a real privilege. And do you know what, even as associate conductor, it was a real privilege to stand up at the front and experience what you don't quite as a singer. You can't experience it unless you're actually the person listening all the time. But it is an incredible privilege. It's a completely different job. And I think it's really easy to think, oh, she's been there for ages, so that all she's a part of the furniture. But it really is, it's different, like in the psychology behind how you approach it is different, but an incredible privilege.
So you mentioned, you've alluded to, we've got another concert coming up. So can you give us some dates and perhaps some spoilers of repertoire?
Oh, yes. So I've got this feeling, I'm going to say that loud, and it might be wrong, but we are doing a triple concert. It's on Friday the 16th of September, Saturday the 17th, Sunday the 18th, 3 different venues, and it is based around working through the art gallery of South Australia. And that process, every single time, is what we call a promenade. So everyone in the audience actually moves from space to space. So it's a concert that might take 90 to 100 minutes, even though it's not so much music. And it reflects the programs that are on and the exhibitions that are on in the gallery. Then we've got a concert at St Peter's Cathedral and a concert up at Bukaria Cultural Centre. Eric Eschenwald's Sundogs is the main piece in the program, and I don't think it's been performed in Australia before. Oh, right. Please contact us if you've done it, sorry. And it is a set of 2 quite significant size pieces, about 20 minutes in length, and it's actually about the perception of people when they saw, so the sun is in the middle, and the horizon is such in the far northern hemisphere that it creates 2 little identical shadows that they call the sundogs. So that perhaps is the piece that we have all been really excited about. And I will give you one spoiler, and that is it's for 700 splits. I think everyone is split 3 ways. So we've got 12 parts, and then on the score it says and triangle. So at first I was like, first of all, the score, I was like, oh, I'm a Irish solo triangle player. But to just tell you, there are more than one triangle, and many people are playing them.
Well, we're nearly out of time because we need to start the live stream. So I hope you folks can hear me. So we'll sign off in a moment, and we can all watch the video release. So the first one will be Leonardo, and then it will run Sudden Light, The Deer's Cry, and then The Parting Glass. And there'll be approximately a 5-minute gap between each video. And you are most welcome to keep using the chat function, and Rachel is moderating that for us. So I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank you both Carl and Christie for your time. And thanks folks for watching. Hopefully we can do this again soon.
Thank you.